Cully, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Joel, thanks for having me, man. I'm doing wonderful. I'm eating this barbecue sausage.
Yeah. Well, it was my recommendation to you. I knew you were going to like it. Before we get into any questions, do you want to share with us your story a little bit?
Yeah. My name's Cully. I'm from New York originally. I guess most people know me for my hip-hop work as a rapper, vocalist. But I do a lot of different stuff, a lot of different creative ting-tings, as we might say. But I've been an engineer, a producer, a little bit of everything, a budding multi-instrumentalist. I definitely started off just kind of following my interests, and, I was probably pretty whack at some point. But you stick with it long enough and you become halfway decent. So, yeah.
Well, I love your music, man. It definitely is inspiring to watch or listen to all the EPs that you've been coming out with and
Thank you.
The singles. So I noticed on your Instagram account that you describe yourself as a SoundCloud rapper.
A part-time SoundCloud rapper.
A part-time SoundCloud rapper and a cusp Swagitarius, if I'm saying Swagitarius. I'm sorry. So what's that mean exactly?
I'll probably get killed for this, but I am definitely not a horoscope believer. I'm just a man rooted in logic. So, cusp Swagitarius, that's just me making my own horoscope and trying to keep it chill. That's like my life mission. Just keep it relaxed and have some fun with it. Part-time SoundCloud rapper. I feel like SoundCloud rappers have this general negative stereotype that they're like someone who lives in their parents' basement and works at a car wash or something, and I kind of love that idea. Although SoundCloud rap nowadays is like a genre in and of itself, but I don't know. I'm always very hesitant to say I'm a rapper. I don't necessarily identify as that because I feel like everyone has friends who are rappers, and usually, to be frank, they're pretty whack. Everyone knows somebody who I'm a rapper, but I've done it, somewhat professionally for a while now. I probably started rapping when I was 12 years old or so half a lifetime. Not to give away my age, but yeah.
Well, you're definitely not a whack rapper. I've known a lot of whack rappers out there, and I know a lot of good rappers that are out there. Oh, yeah. And you're definitely one of the ones that have been stands out with the great music you have.
Thank you.
And speaking of your music, I've listened to all your stuff and seen your performances, and you usually perform with a band, but on this recent EP, it's just you on the vocals. Mm-hmm. So are you a solo artist now or something?
Rap is sort of my first instrument. I started off just freestyling by myself. But I definitely would identify as a solo artist for sure. I think that's sort of my primary goal at this point is to succeed as, a songwriter and artist. But it's such a meandering career as a artist, if you could call it a career, because I've engineered and I've worked, under other people and worked towards their sort of creative goals. So I think this is sort of just a chapter in my creative life where I'm focusing on, my own creative output. But yeah, to touch on, for a live band, I always just felt like that was such a cool possibility to take, a beat I might have found online or a producer sent me or something, and then have it sort of reimagined or reinterpreted as a live band. But to touch on touring with a live band, I always just found it gave me sort of more creative possibilities. And I'll be honest, as a fan of hip hop, I think hip hop is and sometimes this isn't rightfully deserved as its reputation, but it's one of the worst genres live.
Yeah.
To see a lot of times, people are just rapping over their own songs. Mm-hmm. If you're lucky, they got a different mix. They'll have a live mix where their vocals are a little bit lower, maybe just the chorus, because hip hop's such a collaborative thing. So it's hard to sort of bring everyone that's involved on a record on stage a lot of the times. So I've heard, it might be a super popular song, the artist does their verse, and then you're just kind of sitting there in the crowd while it's basically just a MP3 playing over the speakers. So I never really wanted that. when you do a song live, you have just the possibilities to, cut out a verse of an artist who's not there. You could have people do solos. You could easily change the key it's in or something. I mean, you can do so much stuff. You can change what instruments are playing certain parts.
Yeah.
So, and I think just the live band has more energy a lot of the times. But that's not to say, I've been thinking about it more and more of getting live mixes done to my songs, because my last EP had no guest vocalist, so I could do it pretty much true to what it is.
You have a pretty unique style in your music. So, I mean, you mentioned it's hip-hop, but how would you describe your music?
I love the term beach hop, because I always felt like...
I like that, yeah.
I love guitars and ukuleles, and combining that with, like, the boom-bap, hard-hitting drums and 808s. But I like just upbeat and sort of, I love a good melody. Just different, beachy sounds, maybe like some bongos or congas or whatever. So beach hop, I've had some friends call it like coffee shop hop. Like it's a little too hipster for my vibes.
Yeah, I like beach hop better. Yeah.
Surf trap is another one. A new age phrase, I guess. But yeah, beach hop is what I always kind of identified as.
No, I like that. You might be the original beach hop artist, man.
The beach hopper.
Yeah, you could be starting a thing with that.
Who knows?
So, who would you say are some of your musical influences?
I'm definitely not above sort of identifying with some of my contemporaries. I feel like people always try to, identify the people they grew up listening to, which that's of course, important, but dudes like Felly, who produced Island Girl and then Aquafina, I've always felt like we had a very parallel sort of career, and Felly's like a year or two younger than me, so no shame in shouting out his creativity, his style. Definitely Mac Miller, of course. He was like the first artist who I think I bought tickets, with my own money to see his show, and I was lucky to see him 2 or 3 times before he passed.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but just, and not to only identify with fellow white rappers, but Asher Roth. Funny story about that. I was in probably, maybe late middle school when he dropped To Sleep in the Bread Aisle, which was his first album that I Love College was on. And back then, and again, I still don't really see the point of a musical racial divide, but I remember thinking there goes my chance. I thought there was only room for one white rapper. And I was like, but as we've seen, any color can make any type of music and make it original. So yeah, I mean, anyone who's chill. I love Fela Kuti, who's an Afro beat artist. Just anything that's funky. I listen to all different types of music. So love, house music, love I could listen to an acoustic ukulele record and be like, this is awesome. So surfer rock is pretty sweet. Just, I don't know. I listen to so much, it's kind of hard to pinpoint.
Yeah, it kind of is hard to pinpoint with your music because it sounds like it's something that can be applied to a lot of different genres.
Right.
So I can see your music applying to pretty much anyone that's interested in music in general.
Right.
So when I looked up your music, especially through Apple Music or through Google, I came across a rapper from Australia named MC Cully.
Shout out to Australia.
Shout outs to Australia. So do you have any affiliation with this guy?
Bro, there's 4 Cullys on Spotify and Apple Music. I don't know MC Cully. I do low-key love Australian dance music in particular.
What?
And it's not even a conscious thing. It's just every time I hear a new, dance artist I love, I'm like, yo, this is great. I always look it up, and they're from Melbourne or Brisbane.
Yeah.
So I love Australia. I love that. I think population-wise, Australia is the size of New York.
Mm-hmm.
But their output in music is just so it's how Britain had all the awesome rock of the 60s. Their output is just so irregular and disproportionate to their size. Would love to go to Australia. Would love to meet this MC Cully fellow. Get the Cully featuring Cully track. But yeah, there's another Cully from Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like got some stuff because we must use the same distributor.
Mm-hmm.
I put all my stuff on DistroKid, and that'll send it to every store. But he's been popping up on like my channels, and especially my house music is like super kid friendly.
Yeah.
I almost I call my last project like elementary school house music.
Yeah.
It's very jingly.
Yeah.
And like simple and melodic. But this dude has like just wildly inappropriate album covers, and I'm like, man, I don't want this to be attributed to me. I don't want someone to go on my channel and be like, Cully, what are you doing? I don't want my mom to see it.
Yeah.
All these things. So yeah, I actually have to like issue like takedown notices.
Yeah.
But shout out to all the Cullys in the world. There's a few of us.
You all need to get in a room or maybe get into a ring and do WrestleMania by in a rap battle with each other, and winner gets the Cully name.
That is a fantastic idea. Yeah, we should have a lawyer be the referee and we'll sign the papers.
Winner gets the rights to use the name Cully.
Everybody else just gets cease and desist for the rest of their life. Yeah, that's
They're
a good
banned
idea.
from being Cully.
Yeah, I actually, from what I know of like trademark law, I think it's the first person to use it in interstate commerce is technically like the owner of it. And then you can of course file it with the trademark office.
Well, you better hurry up and get on that then.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I did a show in Philadelphia. I think that's technically interstate,
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, it's posted now that people know you're the first Cully out there.
Yeah, and I made a conscious move to, get on my distributor early. Because I kind of was thinking ahead. I was like, I want to be the first Cully.
Okay.
So
glad that I'm speaking to the first Cully. Maybe on my other episodes I can get the other Cullys too, and get their opinion on what they think of you.
I would love to hear it.
Well, besides being a lyricist, I mean, you mentioned about making the house music. So you make your own background music for your songs. Is there anything that you don't do that's involving with your music?
So, as I chew this delicious barbecue kielbasa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I produce like house music. It's kind of funny. I'll produce a lot of different kinds of music, but I don't usually produce my own hip-hop music because every time I try to make a hip-hop beat, it just ends up turning into a house beat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'll work with a bunch of producers for my hip-hop stuff. I love just going on like BeatStars and that's how Old Town Road, for those of you who don't know, like got made. It was Lil Nas X heard this beat from I think it was a Norwegian producer.
Really?
And then that whole thing came to be. But yeah, I'll just go on BeatStars, listen to beats. Sometimes it's like the first beat I hear, boom, I'll write a whole song. Let me finish chewing this delicious kielbasa real quick.
Just to let our listeners know, we're also eating some great delicious barbecue while we're doing this awesome interview for this exclusive podcast.
Yes. Barbecue boys.
Barbecue boys, I like that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't really produce a ton of hip-hop. I will produce the vocals because I have very particular things. I mean, even down to the brand of auto-tune I like to use, which I just started using this last project. I'd always kind of been a purist and you can't use auto-tune. But even artists nowadays who don't need auto-tune, quote-unquote, you just sound better. It just gives your voice this little bit of polish. And it just kind of fits in the general music lexicon. It just kind of sounds a little bit off in terms of it's pop or hip hop. You kind of need some auto-tune. I don't like it to be like T-Pain, super noticeable. Yeah. But I will use, auto-tune. I'm very particular about, the delays, the reverbs in my voice. I mean, if I had a setup where I could, more easily record myself, I'd probably do that. But I've been working with an engineer in New York for my last EP, and I love the results. So.
No, I mean, speaking of that, you mentioned using the auto-tune, and you don't want to be like T-Pain, who, like you said, obviously uses it.
Yeah.
And that's his thing.
That's his aesthetic.
Yeah.
Totally.
But I mean, you use it too, but just enough
right.
for people to notice it, but they also notice your original sound as well.
Right.
Yeah, but and the fact that you use the auto-tune at perfect moments to use it too is amazing. But
right.
yeah, I love it when you use auto-tune, but it doesn't drift away the fact that you have an awesome voice as well.
Thank you.
You're new to being an entertainer, getting into this music business, but you also did a little touring a while back. So how was that experience being your first time on the road?
So it being the first time, I kind of went into it knowing there would be tons of, learning moments and that it wouldn't be a perfect experience. But it was probably crazier than the usual tour in terms of I have a side project I'm a part of, a jazz band, Bright Dog Red. So shout out to Joe Piñata, who's the band leader. And that is a crazy project because we completely improvise every show and every recording. And so I was trying to sort of blend that idea because that, after a while comprised the bulk of my live performance experience was with that band. I was trying to bring some of these ideas of heavy improvisation, but still doing the songs. And the cool thing about that tour is every city I went to, I would work with local musicians, some of whom I hadn't even met before. And they would do sort of their interpretations of my songs. But yeah, that was just in the Northeast. It was just a regional tour, a little weekender. Mm-hmm. But learned a lot, had a lot of fun, and didn't hemorrhage the amount of money that I thought I would. I was going into it like totally expecting, I think we like low key broke even after gas and hotels and, the great people letting us surf couches and things. But yeah, it definitely made me realize, I could, if I did a proper tour, you could actually make some money off it, which was a cool sort of a thing to feel.
Well, it's all about putting your name out there. Even if you break even or lose money, lose financially a little bit, as long as you're putting your name out there and more people know who you are,
right,
you're gaining something out of it. That's why I've been listening to a lot of comedian podcasts and musician podcast interviews, and that's what it's all about, just putting yourself out there.
Right.
But, like you said, you didn't gain any money from it, or you didn't gain as much as you would have liked to, but now you got the exposure and people know who you are.
Right. Yeah, a lot of artists nowadays they don't recoup the money that it costs them to record a record just on the sales or the streaming. So people have to tour. But it's kind of the opposite of, in the olden music industry, you would tour to sell more records. Now you make records so you can tour more, essentially.
Which, I feel the same way. One thing I really like about, at least when I listen to a lot of Apple Music, I know a lot of artists do not gain too much from streaming,
right?
But I feel like it encourages more people to see them, see their live music, see their shows.
Definitely.
Yeah, see them perform songs that they can't see them, or hear live.
Right.
But no, it's awesome. So, you've been you said you toured in a couple areas. So what's the one place that you would like to perform at?
Oh, geez, man. Low-key, not high-key, Coachella, of course.
Coachella. I can see you performing at Coachella, man.
I think the music...
Give it 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
We'll see. I've performed at one outdoor festival in my life. And there is no better environment to perform than, when it's sunny out, the weather's nice, you're outdoors. Because a lot of time performing, you're performing at night, you're in, a dark club, the air quality is poor, it's, humid or smoky. Performing outdoors is, I just feel very at home and very comfortable. And that's the vibe. Coachella, in terms of an indoor venue, gotta go with, obviously, Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
I'll give that, 5 years. Coachella 2, MSG 4 or 5.
How about Red Rocks? See yourself performing there?
That's another one.
That's another open event.
Yeah, that would be dope too. I almost saw Tame Impala there. I think they were performing on my birthday at Red Rocks last year, but I couldn't swing the flight. But yeah, Red Rocks is another good one.
Yeah, well, 2 years you're gonna perform at Coachella, obviously, and maybe 3 or 4 years Red Rocks after that.
I'll take it as a good
and then selling it out
trajectory.
Yeah, for real.
All right.
So you've also started doing some collaboration with other artists as well.
Oh, yeah.
So who are some artists out there that you would like to make music with?
Honestly, like, mostly just my homies back in New York. Like, I'm friends with so many talented people. My homie Sio, who I did a song with, which low-key was like 2 years ago. It was and it was right on the precipice of like me becoming really like crossing that professional artist threshold. So not to give her the short end of the stick, it was probably like one of the last songs I made where like I wasn't quite there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm pretty confident that just about every song I make is like professionally good.
Yeah.
So she's awesome. That was produced by my dude Wade. Wade and I made some crazy beats like also 2 years ago that we've kind of been sitting on. But that was a lot of ukulele trap music and using like cool
ukulele trap music.
Yeah, man.
I never heard of that before.
Well, it's a real thing, and it's pretty powerful. I mean, I play a little bit of uke, and I had a notebook full of like ukulele chord progressions I'd come up with, or little riffs and things, and he just laid down some dope drums. But yeah, I mean, a bunch of homies back home. I'm trying to think of like famous collaborators. Let me think. I'm gonna need a hot second to think so I can come up with a good answer. Maybe if there's like archival music done by that big Hawaiian dude who did Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
I know who you're talking about.
I can picture him in my head, but I can't think of his name. But if he had like archival unreleased music,
yeah,
I would love to like somehow either sample it or just like write a song around it. I don't know. That would be cool to see if he has archives. That'd be pretty sweet. But let me think. Who else? Definitely like some reggae chronics. There's actually a guitarist on one of his songs that I love that I think I'm going to get to play on my next instrumental album. He lives in Jamaica.
You and Chronix that would be a sick song.
That would be sick.
Yeah,
I love Chronix. He's incredible.
If I ever meet Chronix, I'm gonna say, "Hey, you gotta collaborate with my boy."
Yeah, that would be the best plug ever.
That would be a sick song.
He's awesome. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to even think in terms of like hip hop artists who I'd like to collab with. Geez, I don't know. It's tough. I would love like if some random person just, I don't know, emailed me or slid in my DMs. Yeah, I have a song that I guess I won't say who, but an artist who I sort of grew up listening to. I'm going to reach out to him soon and see if he'll do a verse on it. But yeah.
All right. Well, I want to talk a little bit about your EPs that you have out. You have a few EPs.
Yeah.
The first two are house music. The third one, called June, you actually are the vocals on this one. It's the first time you're doing vocals after your house music.
Right.
So what made you want to transition from just doing the music or composing the music to actually being a vocalist on your own stuff?
So I guess because it's definitely, I have been rapping, like I said, for like eons. And me and my homies back in high school, we rapped and we used to put stuff on YouTube and like it would just blow up like low key. But it was awesome, and I like stand by those songs till this day. But it wasn't like distributed because back then there was no Spotify or Apple Music. I guess there was iTunes, but it was much more difficult to get your music on it. And then I went to college and I studied audio engineering, and then I was working in studios. So I was very much so like just kind of in that headspace. And I think my instrumental music, that was just the outward embodiment of me collecting like vintage keyboards and drum machines and playing with that and sort of proving myself as a producer and an engineer. As much as it was, proving myself as a beat maker, a quote-unquote songwriter. I was really just having fun with like the chord progressions and the melodies, and the main focus there was really the production and the engineering for the instrumental stuff. And then I kind of just like, I have a bad habit of working like too hard because I kind of just burnt myself out on that. And then I had like this great wave of relief wash over me I was just so stressed out for so long, like doing crazy sessions and booking myself too thick and spreading myself too thin. And the day I like dropped out of grad school, because on top of this, I decided to get a master's degree, which was a very stupid decision at that time. And so I remember the day I dropped out, I was just like this huge, tension out of my shoulders. And then I wrote that entire June EP, probably like within 3 days of dropping out.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I had a great, like very productive period. Probably for 2-3 weeks, I probably wrote definitely a song a day. It was the very end of the lease on my apartment too, so I had like this kind of cool deadline.
Yeah.
I had like turned down a couple clients for engineering and be like, no, I'm not. I just didn't work for like 2 weeks, and just wrote like a copious amount of music, a lot of which I still have to record. That's definitely been like a struggle of mine. Is I write so much, but in terms of recording and the mixing and mastering and producing, it's so much more than just writing. So I don't know if that even answered your question. That was a tangent for sure, but
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Shoutouts to you actually getting June done in 3 days.
Well, written in 3 days. But actually still recorded quick. It was probably recorded in like 2 months about.
So were those songs that you've had in your head that you're like, I just need to put it on paper, or did it just pop out as soon as you were like, okay, I'm going to focus on this EP right now?
Definitely popped out. I wrote all those like fresh. I was just finding beats, and I had changed my writing process slowly but surely, because when I was younger I was very lyrical, and it was probably overly like intellectual, but I listened to some of those songs that I wrote and I was like, how did I think of this? It's so witty to me, but my flow was whack. I was trying to say too much and fit in too much, and it was kind of clunky in its delivery. So my focus has been, let's make it more musical and more melodic. And now I approach it from like a melody first standpoint. So I'll play a beat, and this is probably the reason I can't like write with other people in the room, and I will just mumble sort of nonsense to myself, or scat, or whistle, hum, and really just try to like find a melody. I'll throw the voice memos on my phone and just record myself, coming up with melodies that sound like nonsense. And I'll probably do that for like, say 20 minutes to an hour. And usually while I do that, lyrical themes will start to kind of emerge, because I love freestyling. And so I'll usually come up with like a hook and kind of work backwards. Once I have the hook, start to come up with sort of the song form. Like Island Girl, for example, that the beautiful scat solo, that was like just kind of a holdover. That was some nonsense that I had done. I was like, this sounds so good, I should just keep it. But yeah, a lot of those songs were just written like pretty quick. And I started working with the new engineer, and he was awesome. Shout out to Jake Mannix. And just made the process very, very quick. So yeah.
No, well, that June EP is sick. I mean, I go through a lot of albums, and I just go through like EPs as well. And I have to say that your EP, or that third EP, the June EP, it's probably the sickest EP I've ever heard, ever.
High regards.
Yeah, seriously. And I go through EPs. Albums overall, I probably go through like 3 or 4 a week.
Right on.
And this is through like any artist, country, hip hop, anybody. I just go through their albums, but some would just have EPs when they come out, but yours is the most epic one I've ever heard.
Well,
it's EP short for epic, pretty much for your
EPIC.
Exactly. So, you have 3 EPs out so far. Can we expect a full-length album anytime soon?
So I have like an LP in my head in terms of the album artwork, the general idea of how I want the songs to flow. Because making an LP is a lot like doing a set live. You want certain moods and emotions, and it's sort of like a story arc. I feel like you start off probably with some bangers, and then it might dip and get kind of low key for a minute, and then you go through this journey. You usually end up the zenith, if I recall, if I'm using that term correctly from English class. You'll end with like your biggest. That's when the fireworks go off, the pyrotechnics, and you're playing your biggest songs. And that's how I kind of feel like an album should arc. My only problem is like an album is such an epic undertaking, and the cost of recording music has come down greatly, but it's still definitely by no means a cheap hobby. So to do an album professionally, I mean, I wouldn't want to do it with less than like, I don't know, low five figures.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've never, my side project was fortunate enough to have label support, and that's, a huge help. But as a solo artist, I've always just financed stuff out of my pocket, or worked with friends and stuff like that, so, or done it myself. But yeah, I have, there is ideas for an LP. It's in my head. I don't want to give away the title just yet because it's subject to change. But there are ideas brewing for sure.
Okay, cool. Well, I can't wait to hear that full-length album or the LP.
Right on.
Well, you also dropped an awesome music video. I think it's like 3 days old or 4 days old. Not even a week old.
Yeah.
And it's already like going semi-viral. I mean, semi-viral. It's almost there. But I mean, you're getting a lot of views on it, obviously, and it's an amazing music video.
Thank you.
It matches, the great song "Island Girl."
Right on.
How was it making that video?
Dude, that was awesome. So the whole experience was very much, I guess it all happened so quick. I was, volunteering in Puerto Rico, and I was just driving, around the island one day. And I don't even think I was listening to the song. I was just so like visually inspired. I was on a road in between the beach and a mangrove, just super lush. And I was like, dude, I should shoot a video while I'm on the island. And so I got home and just started with like a simple Google search, like, Puerto Rico music video directors or whatever. And one thing led to another. And my dude Elaine, who's the owner of PD Pua Productions. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of that. I brought him the concept. I kind of wrote a treatment for it. And he brought Pablo Ascanio on board for director. Again, it's in Puerto Rico, and they all have like very Latin names, and I'm awful. I'm the whitest person to ever visit Puerto Rico, so my Spanish is pretty terrible. But they did an awesome job, knocked it out of the park. Again, I kind of approached them with the concept and the general, I wrote the treatment for it, and I had a lot of strong ideas, but they took it and ran with it. They had awesome, they're local, so they knew what locations to shoot at. And I mean, their technical expertise using, the drones and the gigantic cameras. They knocked it out of the park. Shout out to my girl, Dory, who was the model, who's, no normal model. She's working on her PhD right now. She's a librarian. Everybody, Tati, the creative director, trying to not leave everyone out, Ivan, Paula, and Juanqui.
Well, my favorite part about the music video is those awesome sunglasses that you had on there that you were rocking for a few scenes.
Yeah.
You have to tell me, where'd you get those sunglasses?
Dude, everyone asked about the sunglasses.
Those shades are sick.
The sunglasses were low-key, like, the last piece of the puzzle. Found in the most normal of ways. I was literally just putting gas in my car the day before we shot. Yeah. And I went in to pay the person. And they had like that classic gas station rack of sunglasses, and I saw them on there, and they were pretty cheap. They were like, I don't know, $5 or something. So I just bought them, and I was like, these would be dope if we like painted them blue. Yeah. So those were originally clear, and that's the reason that you don't see me on the bike with those glasses, because I couldn't see out of them because they were painted. But yeah, they look very Elton John-esque, I feel. And in the scene with where I'm on the beach and Dory's lying down, like the sunglasses are like the same shape and color as her bikini top, and we couldn't have planned that out. It just worked out so well. But unfortunately, those like didn't really fit in my bag when I was flying back, so I don't know really where those glasses are.
Oh no!
But I do still have the head of the rubber chicken. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to have.
Yeah.
Well, you have so much music out under your name right now, and you have this music video. What do you hope to accomplish with all this creativity that you have?
I would say my biggest goal as a creative is to make music that helps people relax. I'm all for a turn-up song, which just made me sound very conservative. But I feel like so much pop music is like, it's turn-up stuff. It's like for the club. My goal is to kind of blend a little bit of that, like I said, like the boom bap drums with sort of the chill stuff, the ukulele. And I've even said, like, so many people would take it as an offense if someone fell asleep while they were listening to the music or at the concert. To me, that would be like the greatest compliment, because I want my music to be relaxing.
Yeah.
And of course enjoyable. And I always try to have like that little bit of just left of center, something or other, expose people to something that's new. With Island Girl, I think that the psychedelic scat solo, like, who does that? And I just feel like it's my fiduciary duty as an artist to kind of, of course we're standing on the backs of giants and we have so much awesome music to draw from, but I think to push the envelope a little bit, and definitely, I mean, I'm so comfortable in like failure at this point. I'm happy to do something that, flops if it's in the name of, trying to push it a little bit. So, yeah.
That's cool. Well, there's a special segment that I want to do exclusively just for these podcast episodes.
Right on.
And that's a segment I call Life Lessons.
Cool.
So this question is really, share us a life lesson that you've learned either through a good or bad experience that you've had in your past, and tell us the story behind that lesson.
All right, I can definitely think of one. Good experience, to be super broad, I think is just like trust your gut. And as you get older, you get more life experience. You get fine-tuned as to what is nonsense and what you can pursue and believe in. But a good experience, I guess a good outcome from a bad experience. Like I mentioned earlier, I have a habit of when I get into something, I get a little bit obsessive of it, and I probably work too much. And I think experiencing just like true burnout in the long run will be a blessing. I was, my biggest goal after college was to become a successful engineer. And my goal was to be able to walk into any studio and get a sound out of it. Because there's a lot of technical knowledge that goes into studios, and they're all laid out differently. And there's such a huge amount of tools you can use, and it's very technical. And I just pursued that, and I had success in it, and I worked with great artists and under great producers, and with great studio owners. But I pushed myself like too far to the point where, I felt the physical detriments of just mental stress. Whether that's like, stomach troubles. I had eczema. I have no family history of eczema. Yeah. Like, that's just crazy that you could push yourself to the limits to where, your physical body is reacting to your mental stress.
That's how you're really stressed out. Your physical body just develops all these
is breaking down, basically. And I always thought, because music has such a reputation of like, you're in the studio, and some people live that sort of rock star lifestyle of drugs and stuff, and I had always avoided that pretty religiously, because to me it's so obvious you're trading your long-term success for short-term gains. But I would work crazy shifts, and I wouldn't even indulge in as much as like a beer. I mean, just to get through like a 24-hour session, I was trail mixing green tea. And I had the misconception at the time that if I avoided drugs and stuff, that I could also avoid the negative effects. But at some point, you do need sleep, and you do need recuperation and relaxation. So I think that was probably the best life lesson, because that's something that success I would have pursued, for years, and I was lucky to obtain it relatively early. And I still love engineering. I still love old school, being a recording engineer. Like, that's such a dying profession, because people use, sample packs and stuff. So I still enjoy it, but I have learned to, pace yourself, live with a bit of moderation. Definitely a marathon, not a sprint, which in music, so many people seem to forget that. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that with us and for our listeners. We're at the end of our show, Cully. Do you have anything that you want to share with all our listeners before you leave?
Well, I will share that this barbecue sausage is kielbasa.
Oh, it's amazing.
It is, being half Polish.
Yeah.
I am well familiar with kielbasa, but I never thought to put barbecue sauce on it. So I'm learning new things all the time.
You got to take it and dip it in the barbecue
Precisely.
sauce.
Yeah. It's although I've never seen kielbasa cut this way. It's kind of like cut in quarters, I guess. But usually I just do the little round, pickle-esque cuts. But I guess you can go to pickle different ways too. 1,000 ways to skin a pickle. Let's see. I guess I do have. I don't know when this is coming out, but
probably in like 2 weeks.
Okay, well that might be perfect because I think I have a remix.
Or next week.
Okay, well then I'll still shout this out. So there's a remix to Sibilance coming out March 6th. My friend Sean Sato did it. I realized this morning. I have a long history of working with people named Sean because the first big artist I opened for was Big Sean. Mm-hmm. The first producer I worked for name was Sean, and now the first person to remix a song of mine is also named Sean.
Well, maybe the next person that you'll work with is Sean John, also known as
P.
Diddy. Yeah,
that would be fantastic. Yeah, that would be the.
You're on a streak of Sean's.
I am on a long run. Sean John. Oh yeah. Maybe one day I'll work. Sean Carter, Jay-Z. There's a lot of Seans in the music industry.
Yeah.
So.
A lot of Collys, apparently.
There are a lot. Yes, less known than the Seans of the world, but we're out here.
Well, Cully, thank you so much for doing this interview with us. Do you want to tell or share with our listeners how they can follow you, your Instagram, and all that stuff?
Yeah. So most of my socials are at Coolest Cully because Cully is always taken. I think it's an actual government birth name in Scotland and various European places. But my website also coolestcully.com. I love doing web design, so it's usually pretty aesthetically pleasing. Or just facebook.com/Cully Music. And I'm Cully on Spotify, Apple Music, your preferred streaming.
All right, awesome. Well, Cully, thank you so much for doing this interview with us, our first exclusive podcast interview with Irie Chat. For our listeners, please go ahead and watch Island Girl on YouTube. It's probably the sickest video of. It's probably gonna be video of the year for 2020. It just came out, but definitely video of the year. You're going places. Everyone should stream the June EP.
Facts.
Especially if there's one song I can personally recommend everyone is it's my favorite, Die Die. That's the sleeper hit.
It is.
If you can make a music video of that one, please do. But if you can't, it's all right. But Cully, thank you again so much for doing this interview with Irie Chat today, and best of luck on everything.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.